Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I'm Matt Roast here with Jessica Bun Bun, and this is our Before Season 1, Episode 7 reaction and review. Now, first and foremost, I know there may be some people out there being like, whoa, this episode's not out yet. What are you guys doing? Well, booyah, this episode is out.
Yes.
Apple has released this early before Thanksgiving so that you can go and be freaked out by this show before you go and fight with your family on Thanksgiving. And because of that, we have a lot to talk about. This is the shortest episode that Before has given, per my recollection, but
Yeah.
it's also one of my favorites.
It was really short. When I saw
Yeah.
the runtime on it, I'm like, am I seeing that right? It's like 24 minutes.
Yeah.
Like that. I couldn't believe it, but they packed in so much. They are really just racing to this finale,
Yeah.
and they are jamming in everything.
In particular, I mean, we'll talk about the full episode, but the final, I think, minute of this one is what a lot of people are going to be talking about. We did some freeze framing, we did
Yeah.
some dialogue study. Like, they're dropping some hints for us. It's just, do we know what to do with these hints? It's sort of like on Chopped when you give you all these random ingredients and you have to make a dish, and you're just like, how can I make a dish out of like this tilapia and chocolate chips?
And a deodorant stick.
Yeah, that's where we are with this show right now.
Absolutely. But I mean, they really did give us some feelings here that either, for me, tinfoil hat, even
Yeah.
before we've gotten to subscribe,
All right.
is Eli the person who's actually dead? And I know that we've spoken about it a little bit, but watching him throw up all that water,
Yeah.
I was just like, it's possible that he's dead. Hearing that metronome wherever he went, I was like, is Eli the person who's in therapy? And that's what's going on here. I think that while this episode felt like it kind of started to deliver some answers and moving us towards answers, it also brought up so many questions that just had me sitting back, really thinking about this show. Please, people out there with Apple, start watching this show. It is so good. I don't know how more people aren't talking about it. It's been a really long time since we've had a thriller like this, that every week they're bringing me in a different direction where I think I know what's going on, and then I truly know nothing. And then I think I know what's going on, and then I know nothing.
I think the part that annoys me the most about all this is like, people actually have Apple right now. Like, you guys are subscribing for Silo, maybe you're subscribing for Shrinking. Like, you actually
Bad
have
Sisters.
Yeah, there's actual like super popular shows that are on right now.
Yeah.
So let's get with the program, guys. Though, if you're watching this video right now, you probably are with the program. But before we go any further into Before, hit that subscribe button so you guys don't miss the rest of our coverage of this topsy-turvy, super weird season. And speaking of Silo and Bad Sisters, I mean, we are also in the midst of covering those as well. So, this is a good time to be an Apple TV Plus fan. There's no mistaking that.
Also, if you're watching Dune Prophecy, we are as well. We are doing weekly exclusive reviews over on our Patreon. It is the only place that you can get our weekly videos on Dune Prophecy, and it's a great way to help support Matt and I here at the channel, and we really appreciate everyone who has.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's start cooking here with the end of this episode. I know there's other stuff that happened in like the first 10 or 15 minutes, but this is all too juicy. So, okay, Eli brings Noah over to Benjamin's brother's house, who I'm just going to call him Lonnie because Noah's like, I'm sorry, Lonnie, in that moment. That just like,
chills.
Okay, the chills all begin with the I'm sorry, Lonnie, and then also Noah starts playing this song that was apparently a song that Benjamin and Lonnie used to listen to all the time. I'll admit I'm not familiar with this song. It sounded like one of those I should be familiar with, and I spent like 5 minutes trying to place what it was. But I think all of this was really well done. But I think it's also pretty important from the vantage point of, okay, this is Lonnie consciously admitting that here is Noah doing something that he considers to be a connection to him. So it's somebody other than Eli who's having a connection to Noah, unless this is Eli somehow projecting this connection between the two of them.
Yeah, there's a few different roads that this could be going down. It could be that. It
Yeah.
could be that Eli is the person with the conversion disorder that is bringing people around him into his own disorder, kind of like what we saw with the kids all falling down. But remember, Eli was there too. So
Yeah.
it could be him that's having that happen. It could be that Eli is dead and he's transitioning through into whatever next plane is going on. And he's remembering all these things. And because it's all part of his own, subconscious, he's the person who's making all these connections where it's like his last case with this kid who's really himself, and
Yeah.
he's just going through his own stuff and reliving his own life before it's completely out. Or, like I said, we've heard this metronome. We saw at the beginning that we had Eli has got it going, and he's like, oh, bring me back Noah to this, bring me back Noah to that. What if tinfoil hat,
Yeah.
he's in therapy and his therapist is asking him about that? And Noah is Eli, and he is going back to his own childhood, but Noah's really just Eli. He's got his own connections back to what he did to Benjamin when he was a resident, him maybe going to see Lonnie because he felt bad about what happened. Maybe it was something he did when he was younger, when he did have to go and tell Lonnie what happened to his brother. It's all about Eli. Like, I don't believe for a second, and you guys let us know in the comments, I don't believe for a second that Noah is Benjamin come back from the dead. I just don't think that that's what's happening here.
Yeah, I don't think Before is moving in a supernatural direction here
No.
at all. I think that it is all projections, and they're caused by some major event that's happened, but that major event here could just be, Lynn's death. But because of this particular trauma that Eli has gone through, it's bringing up all of these other traumas, and that's going to bring me into my new tinfoil hat theory, because
Oh.
here's the fun thing about Before. I'm basically getting a new theory every week and abandoning the ones that I had before.
Samesies. It's the same thing's happening to me.
Yeah, because it's sort of like this big crazy thing where just a few weeks ago, it's like, oh, did Lynn drown in the pool? But then it's like, okay, the pool hasn't been brought up in a couple of episodes. Does the pool even matter that much anymore? We didn't know Benjamin at all at the start of this show, and now
No.
it's just like, okay, it's Benjamin all the time. But here's the thing. We saw Eli and Noah have this conversation outside of Lonnie's house, and Eli's being told, oh, you can't talk to him, but we'll deal with that part of it a little bit later. But ultimately, he refers to Noah as Benjamin, and then Noah, or Benjamin, or whatever you want to say about him, is, we have to find our friend. And that makes me think that Eli and Benjamin were actually friends long before a lot of the other stuff has happened in this show, whether it's childhood friends, maybe it's they were friends when they were young adults, like something like that. And there is an event that happened with the two of them and somebody else that involved a farmhouse, something that, we saw that Benjamin has some sort of reels that are undeveloped about the farmhouse, and that's something that can be explored a little bit more. But maybe then this other person, this third person, this friend that Noah says that they have to find, that this is somebody who drowned around the farmhouse, because we see a brief sight of somebody frozen, and then we see a brief sight of somebody sinking into the water. If these are the same person, this could just mean that, okay, somebody broke through the ice and ended up drowning at this farmhouse a long time ago, and this is just some memory that Eli blocked out, including his past friendship with Benjamin, because, years go by, things change, everything that happened with Benjamin's death may just be a traumatic memory that he got rid of, and then what happened to Lynn is causing it all to be brought back.
Okay, let's talk about the friend at the ice,
Yeah.
because it was hard to tell if this was a young girl, a young boy. It looked like a younger person that had like hit their head into the ice, bleeding, looked like they were dead. Then we saw this figure falling through the ice, and we saw a little bit of what kind of looked like Lynn's robe and someone who maybe looked like maybe an adult. It was really hard to tell. I mean, I looked at this and stopped this like an
Yeah.
unhealthy amount of time to try to figure out, is this the same person? I think it's supposed to be the same person, but I really couldn't tell because we just can't see who's falling through the ice. But who is this person that is connected to Eli? Because for me, I'm very firmly in this camp that Noah doesn't necessarily know what is going on. I still think that Eli and Noah are the same person, and that it's him as a child and something that's happened to him as a child. I think that he's in some sort of therapy, and he is going back to his childhood where him as a child looking for his friend died. Then all of a sudden now we're here where Lynn has died, and him as an adult is having some sort of mental break where he didn't really deal with his childhood friend dying. Then he didn't really deal with him, doing the chest compressions and then Benjamin dying. And now he's not dealing with Lynn dying. And that was the break, that he's just had these multiple deaths that he hasn't dealt with. And now he's in therapy for it.
See, it's funny because this show is so jumbled in my head now that there's a part of me that's like, okay, I think Noah's a different person, but at the same time, it may not even matter because I think a lot of what you're saying may still be right, and that the person we're seeing of Noah is really just a recreation of everything that Eli has going on in his head. So when he's
Right.
talking
Yeah.
to Eli, yeah, I mean, when Eli and Noah are talking, like Eli's basically just talking to himself, and we may not actually know what the real Noah is actually thinking or seeing or whatever, because I keep coming back to this idea of almost every single important thing Noah has said has been directly to Eli, and we don't really get that many other reactions to it. Like the big exception
No.
being Lonnie and this music, which Eli could just be very well making up because he wants to see that that connection is there because it should be there. And that's different with a lot of the other conversations that Noah's having with other people.
Yeah, the common thread is that Eli is in the room with every time something like this happens. Like, I was really glad when he said, "I want to take Noah and go wherever," that this other doctor was like, "Nah, that's not happening, man." And when finally he convinced her, she's like, "I'm coming." There's no way that just you and Noah are going. I was wondering how they were going to get that together when he was like putting Noah in the car and then he's
Yeah.
getting into the other seat. I was just like, where is this other person? Then they showed that she was there too. I was like, okay, great. But when that whole record scene happened and the Lonnie thing with Noah and Eli, that other doctor was standing a little bit further out of the room. So it's possible that she didn't hear exactly everything that was going on.
It is time for our weekly edition of How Does Eli Still Have This Job? Because last week
Oh my
we
God.
went into this a lot. This week, it's even crazier that he did manage to convince this woman to let her take Noah out of the house, go to like a place that could have specific significance to him. And just watching all of this play out, it is just so unbelievably crazy. Like, if there is an argument to make here that Eli is actually dead as you have presented it, it's that he's actually getting away with all this, because in the real world there's no way this would be happening.
Yeah, as much good stuff that is going on the show right now, we're going to drag that
Yeah.
because it really is the biggest question mark or problem that's going on. He should have been fired last week. I don't
Yeah.
know how he convinced anybody to not only stay on, but stay on with Noah and is allowed to continue any sort of communication with him. I know that she was like, "Oh, we're going to be moving him to this higher facility. Okay, you can help him get ready to move to that facility, but you can't do anything else." And they would ever let him alone in a room with Noah ever, ever, ever again. None of this is believable. So for me, to continue, keeping on with this show, I have to believe that either he's dead or he's in some sort of therapy over these traumatic things that have happened to him that he has never dealt with. And then losing his wife is the thing that's just like, okay, now they're all coming to the surface. You tried to put them away. They're all coming back now.
We're entering, I think, a point in this season now where we have so many different threads and new ones are being introduced every time. Or maybe these are just threads meant to connect other threads that we have seen previously on the show, that there's only a few episodes left. I don't think it benefits before as a show at all, one that we've really enjoyed, to just get to the finale and then they're like, well, now we're going to tell you in the final 10 minutes of the finale everything that has happened. I'm at the point now, and I've enjoyed the slow ride. I've enjoyed kind of getting to see some things come together. Things have to start coming together in the next few episodes. We don't need everything in episode 8. I'm not going to get too crazy here, but I think we actually do need to see who Noah is exactly to Eli. And I think that part of it needs to be cleared up, because then we can actually better understand the big fundamental question here, which is, how can Noah help Eli and how can Eli help Noah? Like, there is still that part of this that has to be sorted out.
Yeah, Noah, I feel like Noah just is either Eli or is Benjamin. Somebody that, not Benjamin coming back from the dead or anything like that, but just his own projection of Benjamin, of giving Benjamin a voice or giving these other people a voice that he has suppressed in his own mind. Because at one point we even see like Lynn showing up in their private session talking about, dig back deeper. And then here's Lynn blowing this cold breath on his neck and all of that just circling back around. I think that there are multiple deaths that have happened throughout his life that he just hasn't dealt with. And now that Lynn is gone, they're all just muddling up in his head and he's unable to separate them.
Okay, it is time for the beef hat.
The beef hat. Okay, let's drag some stuff.
The water thing was dumb. I did not like him spitting out the water at all. It was straight out of, you're watching Scooby-Doo and you see, because I'm a big Scooby-Doo guy from my childhood, you see Shaggy like get the giant sandwich and he just somehow like smushed it and eats it in his mouth. This was like a cartoon. The graphics of it were, they've done some good work with the visual effects, but it was not good in this scene. It felt really cheesy and cartoony, and it feels to me like this is something that's just going to be like memed to death on like Twitter or something after the fact, and they're just going to use this as substitute. Just have him spit out some water, like just a little bit. You don't need to make him go blah and then like the entire Pacific Ocean comes out of his mouth. I was just like, what are you guys doing?
I feel like they probably, this is just a theory, had a lot of talks about how they were going to do this, because we know that Noah, drowned on a cup of water and it was just a tiny amount of water. Then we see Eli throwing up all this water. I feel like there was probably like a discussion of, okay, how much water should it be so that the audience gets that there's this connection to Eli maybe drowning. We have, the Noah drowning. Could Eli also be drowning? He has to be throwing up a significant amount of water to make it look like maybe he would have drowned, so that the audience gets it. But we have seen so many somebody's drowning, like we just did on Teacup. We just covered that show here where, it was like, oh, they're underwater in the bathtub and then they spit up a little bit of water and they come back to life. And we're all like, okay, we get it, right? Yeah. You don't have to have this much water coming out of them. But I do feel like there was probably a lot of discussion on how much water is too much water.
I just sort of feel like Billy Crystal's such a comic actor, and I don't know if it's like, let's do something funny with Billy Crystal during one of the most serious shows of the entire year. It didn't land unless they are really trying to illustrate exactly that this is a fantasy, that none of this is. If you're kind of going that route, I can buy it a little bit more, but then once again, you have to explain that. I think this is not a situation where you can leave a lot of dangling threads, because it sounds like we're going to get closure at the end of episode 10. That doesn't mean they're going to come back and, they could still give us a season 2. You can always make up another idea.
Yeah. The thing is, with how much water he threw up, it made me feel like it was a sign that the show is telling us that we are not in reality, that
Mhm.
either Eli is dead or Eli's in therapy and he's trapped inside his mind, that there is something going on. And I mean, we've had other little threads of that, like him seeing the worm with his own
Yeah.
eyes, holding up the worm, and there's nothing there. Now him throwing up this amount of water when there's no reason for it. It has to be in his mind. We got to be on a trip through Eli's mind.
Also, that's how you choose to end this episode. You could have chosen any other dialogue, image. The last thing that we see on this show before going into Thanksgiving, where we're supposed to eat, drink, and be merry, is watching Eli throw up a gallon of water.
I can't wait to see what is on those negatives. I want to see that farmhouse and those pictures develop so badly, because you guys know that there's going to be like somebody in those photos, and that somebody is going to probably be Eli. I
Yeah.
can't wait for those photos to come out and he look at those photos and see a picture of himself and be like, oh my God.
Let's go to the dark room.
Yeah.
Anybody remember when dark rooms were? What? Maybe dark rooms are still a thing.
They're still a thing.
Okay, well, that's where we are now, coming out of Before Season 1, Episode 7. A lot of fun talking about this show, as weird and wacky as it is. So be sure to hit that subscribe button so you guys don't miss any other coverage here. Also, Silo, Bad Sisters, great time to be on Apple. Check out our coverage of those and support us further by joining our Patreon. We have a link in the description. We are covering Dune Prophecy over there with exclusive videos. Thank you so much. We will see you here next time.